Peppa Pig, Peppa's Christmas Post, a piggy tale with real mail. It was nearly Christmas Eve, and Peppa and George were feeling very Christmassy. "Let's post our letters to Santa," said Peppa. "Yippee!" cheered George. Peppa, George, Mummy, and Daddy Pig put on their boots and headed out into the snow to the post box. On the way home from the post box, Daddy Pig did his Christmas dance. "Oh, it's a bit slippery," he cried, falling on his bottom with a bump. "Oh, Daddy Pig," said Mummy, holding out her hand to help him up. But then she slipped over too. Mummy and Daddy Pig were covered in snow. Dr. Brown Bear came to see if they were okay. "You're going to be fine," he said, "but you've both had a bit of a bump, so you must rest until Christmas Day." "Oh no," sighed Daddy Pig. Everybody went to stay at Granny and Grandpa Pig's house, so Mummy and Daddy Pig could stay in bed. "I know how we can cheer up Mummy and Daddy," Peppa whispered to George. "Let's get everything ready for Christmas ourselves." So, with a little help from Granny and Grandpa Pig, Peppa and George started making Christmas cards and advent calendars for everyone they knew. After Peppa and George posted everything they had made, it was time to make the Christmas pudding. "Mummy and Daddy will love this," said Peppa, stirring the sticky mixture. "That looks perfect, little ones," said Granny Pig. "Let's steam it, and then I have something to show you." Granny Pig found an envelope in a drawer and passed it to Peppa and George. "Take a look inside," she said. "Ooh," said Peppa. "Thank you, Granny." Inside the envelope was a little book of festive treats. Peppa and George made all of the recipes in it, and a lot of mess. Something smells delicious," said Grandpa Pig, his tummy rumbling. "They're not for now, Grandpa," explained Peppa. "They're for Christmas Day." "I see," replied Grandpa Pig. "Well then, I can't wait for Christmas Day." "What's in that great big box, Grandpa?" asked Peppa. "Christmas decorations," said Grandpa Pig. "Hooray! Let's decorate the Christmas tree," cheered Peppa. Peppa and George covered the whole house with Grandpa Pig's decorations. "Mummy and Daddy are going to be very surprised when they come downstairs on Christmas Day," cried Peppa. Then she and George sat down with Granny Pig. They wanted to write an extra special letter to Santa. Peppa, George, Granny, and Grandpa Pig put on their boots and headed out into the snow to post their special letter. "I hope Santa gets it in time," said Peppa, lifting George up so he could post the letter. "I'm sure he will, Peppa," said Grandpa Pig. "Come on, let's head back home." That night, at the North Pole, Santa Claus received Peppa and George's special letter. "Ho, ho, ho," he laughed. "Christmas stickers! How lovely!" Then he got out his pen and paper and wrote an extra special reply. The next morning was Christmas Eve, and there was a letter waiting for Peppa and George by the front door. "Someone's written us a letter, George," said Peppa, jumping up and down. "Santa!" cheered George. "Don't be silly, George," replied Peppa. "Santa doesn't write letters. He's too busy making toys." Dear Peppa and George Pig, thank you so much for your letter and wonderful present. I have put your Christmas stickers all over my grotto. Of course, I can deliver presents for your Mummy and Daddy. Make sure you go to bed nice and early on Christmas Eve, and there will be an extra special surprise for you both on Christmas Day. Love from Santa Claus. At bedtime on Christmas Eve, Peppa and George were soon tucked up in their little bed at Granny and Grandpa's house. "We have to go to sleep early like Santa said in his letter," whispered Peppa. "I wonder what his surprise will be." "Santa," whispered George as he closed his eyes. Soon they were both fast asleep. "Mummy, Daddy," cheered Peppa and George very early the next morning. "It's Christmas Day." "Huh? Who? What?" mumbled Daddy Pig, waking up. "It's Christmas Day," repeated Peppa. "Dr. Brown Bear said you can get out of bed now." We have lots of surprises for you." But there was a surprise waiting for everyone in the living room. "Santa!" cried Peppa and George. "Santa?" cried Daddy Pig, doing his special Christmas dance very carefully this time and managing not to fall over. "Surprise!" said Santa. "I thought I'd pop in and see two little piggies who have been very helpful this Christmas. Peppa and George." "Hooray!" cheered Peppa and George. Santa gave presents to Mummy and Daddy Pig and to Granny and Grandpa Pig. Then he turned to Peppa and George and gave them the doll and the racing car they had asked for. "Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!" he chuckled as he waved goodbye. "Now remember to write your thank you letters. I love getting post." That night, Peppa and George were back at home and tucked up in their own beds. "I love getting post too, Santa," whispered Peppa, looking at his letter on her bedroom wall. "Especially from you." The end. Thanks for reading with me. Please click the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. And please enjoy our next Christmas story, Peppa's Christmas Wish. Bye-bye.